next video is gonna be pretty long. I'm gonna try to maintain my rambling to a minimum. Because fuck, we fucking ramble on for a long time on this one. Surprisingly long time, actually. Karaoke, yeah, karaoke probably, because karaoke usually involves like a slightly changed up version of the song, and doesn't include the whole, it doesn't really include the lyrics and shit. So mashups also work actually, because I learned that mashups didn't get claimed actually at all, like at all. A mashup didn't get claimed at all because it's I guess it's transformative enough work for it to not be like claimed. So yeah. Okay, next video.
This video is sponsored by.
Hello YouTube. We're gonna be watching Saints Row Reboot Hates Saints Row by LazerzZ's. LazerzZ's. I don't know. I don't. That's one. Decent views. Saints were never the heroes or the good guys. They were just the ones whose side you were on. They were as bad as all the other games, maybe worse, which is why they always won. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Thank you. Nobody's ever going to make a game as fucking raw and enjoyable Saints Row 2, so long as they are afraid of their protagonists being bad people. Yeah. That's the sort of thing I heard about Volition's Saints Row Reboot. They completely abandoned the whole idea that they were playing the bad guys. This is not a hero story with hero people doing hero things. This is the bad guys. They're not. They have likable characteristics. They have justifiable reasons for it, but yeah. Fuck me again. Okay. Let's just watch the video. I'm curious.
Brilliant. Stay tuned to the end of the video for more information.
Yeah, brilliant. It's fine. Hello there.
Saints Row.
Yeah.
I love projects like this, ones where I'm kind of stumped on where to begin my script. As of recording this, I've not even written it because I'm not really sure what my angle is. I've seen a whole lot of thing bad on Twitter, just for the sake of thing bad. And while I agree to an extent, the thing is bad, I feel like there's a lot more depth to it than that.
That's unfortunately unfortunately the extent of how people can criticize something. Thing bad. Why bad? Don't know. Thing bad.
A bit more of a complex.
What's the common things used? Woke, shitty, bad writing. Which, okay, yeah, fair. Bad writing is... There is a lot of bad writing in Saints Row. I'm not gonna deny that. It's not how it used to be, which is kind of a loaded term, in my opinion. Like, I mean... It depends on what used to be. It could be used to be shitty, and then you're giving a compliment. So I'm not exactly sure why it's used like exclusively negatively, right? Like, could be shitty, now it's not shitty. Saints Row, can't say it's a good game. Can't say. It's a buggy mess from what I've seen. It's a buggy mess. It's boring. Have zero, absolutely no personality. Not even. I'm not even going to start on the whole writing style that a lot of these people do. That is basically style of writing.
I was part of a special task force of very young-looking cops who infiltrated high schools.
That's basically how it is.
How do you do, fellow kids? What?
Yeah, see? That's basically how it was. That's the style of writing they employ. They think they're hip and with it, but effectively what they're doing is making a completely time-locked story for current social politics, current outlook. There is no plan for any of these things to last forever, like art should be, technically. It's just a commercial product that is made to be pushed right now. Not to mention all the stories of them attacking actual customers and saying stupid shit in social media, because of course there's apparently no rules in the companies now that prohibit company members from being fucking idiots on social media. There is none of that, because dragging your brand through mud, not punishable.
situation, and I feel like it's worthy of some sort of analysis.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, the game's not wholly bad. I'm not ashamed to say I did have fun with it at points. The thing is, this game really fundamentally hates Saints Row.
Yeah.
I think that's our title. Alright, let's do this. Last year, I made a big retrospective on the Saints Row franchise leading into the reboot. It was well received, people enjoyed it thoroughly, and I thank you for that really kind response, I really do. Saints Row is a series that I have a deep love for, despite the rocky nature of it, and being able to share that with so many people was an absolute pleasure. Except for you, okay? You get a fucking timeout. You may already have seen that video, you might not have. I'll link it below if you care. But I think for a video like this, I have to establish how I feel personally about Saints Row. I can't make...
Exactly, Jason Samaya, get a life. That's... Honestly, these are people, these are kind of people I go to and say, touch grass. Like, I know how overplayed that statement is ultimately, but god damn it, touch grass, man. Touch grass. I think ultimately why Saints Row as a franchise is so beloved, because unlike many other franchises born out of imitation for something, they actually did manage to find their identity. Yeah, people like Sun, like Saints Row, right? Saints Row was clone. Effectively, it was a clone of GTA before. Like the first game, it was the first game was the clone of GTA 1, and it was not successful at it. It didn't have its own personality. It tried to replicate an already existing IP. It tried to do that. Saints Row 2, again, see, a lot of the franchises similar to that, which were born out of imitation for something, they don't really stop and consider why they flopped. I think someone in whoever produced Saints Row, they stopped and they considered exactly why the game failed in a broader scale. Why it failed. And from that consideration, from that introspection, Saints Row 2 was born, which had actually introduced its own personality, its own flair. Sure, you can definitely say that Saints Row pushed a little too far into that sometimes, especially Saints Row 4, that kind of pushed a little too far into that wacky nature of it. Saints Row 3 was kind of the perfect medium of that, but Saints Row 2 was like the beginning of that, right? Saints Row 4 was the extreme. Don't think it was really that necessary to be that extreme about it, but you know, at least they have their own personality.
Make a video talking about how the new one entirely tried to erase what made it popular to begin with if I don't actually give you a marker by which I measure franchise identity. Saints Row is complicated. It's a franchise that shifted as quickly as it was created. It never properly landed on a core identity. It sort of drifted from thing to thing, and so because of that, it has a lot of different segmented fan bases. I mean, the comments from my retrospective are testament to that. There are people who will swear the only good one is the first one. There are people who believe 2 built on 1 and is the peak. people who think that Saints Row 3 is when it finally got good and was made modern, and some people who've only played 4 and get out of hell for the superpowers. And I'm sure there are people who have only played the newest entry as well. And with an entirely fragmented identity like that, how do you even begin to make an argument for what a franchise should be? Well,
I think there were while it was fragmented, some core tenets of the franchise carried over all of the games, like even the most over the top segments of the franchise. They carried some sort of identity with them that was basically what made Saints Row Saints Row.
Well, what I would usually do when a franchise is so complete.
This bitch is not Saints Row. Look at this. Is this guy really a gang member? A brutal gang member of the Saints? Yeah, it was. Again, it wholly depends. They did a bunch of parodies in that. They did a parody of Matrix. They did a parody of other things. It's fine. It's fine. But look at this guy. Like,
Jointed and void of identity is point to the original. That is the original vision for the franchise.
I don't-
Sequels that build on that continue to be part of the original vision and identity.
Yeah,
But once
yeah.
you deviate in meaningful and significant ways, when characters start to act differently, when your tone shifts, and when your fundamental gameplay loop seems to focus on entirely different ideas, that's when it becomes something else. At the first sign of that, I would say identity is lost.
Yeah.
When you look at Assassin's Creed, yeah, I know, look at Lasers, can't go a video without mentioning Assassin's Creed. Fuck off. Assassin's Creed didn't go from Assassin's Creed 2 to Assassin's Creed Odyssey overnight.
Yeah.
That would have been an obvious loss of identity to anybody with a functioning brain. I mean, it still should be obvious regardless, but for the sake of argument, the fact it slowly went through...
yeah, I think the Assassin's Creed definitely lost its identity. Whatever identity it had, it just turned into Call of Duty on its own. Like what the same as Call of Duty. Call of Duty was shooty, pew pew pew. But it eventually just kind of lost whatever made it special because they just keep mass producing these pew 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 shooty pew pew. To cash in on things, with decreasing quality, extremely decreasing quality. I still remember that statement. I watched the Techman video about it. I still remember that statement that some person in Call of Duty's development team dared to utter that. And listen to this. This is rich. That Call of Duty, until that point, apparently, did not have any memorable characters. It was about the recent game Call of Duty. Listen this again. Call of Duty did not have memorable characters. Nobody comes to mind. Nobody at all. Not at all. No, it's not that latch on. It's basically no memorable characters, which is blatantly untrue. There's none at all. Even if you remember Price, that means he's memorable. You remember Price, right? So there's something there was someone memorable there, and for the fans of series, a lot of people are memorable in the characters. Obviously, if you're not a fan of if you're not a fan of Call of Duty, you're not going to remember a lot of characters from Call of Duty because you're not a fan of Call of Duty. But yeah, it's this hubris, I think, that basically that's the thing, right? When you produce a franchise for long enough, people will start to filter in who think they know franchise better than the franchise itself. And they want to change to how they feel like it. And the identity completely disappears. No consistency remains. None of what made the game popular in the first place remains. And everything is just turning to dust.
through the Ezio trilogy to AC3 to 4 to Unity to Syndicate to Origins to Odyssey was a slow and methodical loss of identity, where each entry watered down, removed, and simplified elements until it became something completely different. Not an evolution like these videos with millions of views would have you believe. It's like the ship of Theseus, but Assassin's Creed. I believe pretty strongly that Assassin's Creed 3 was the turning point. Well, if we're being critical, it was like mid-Brotherhood, because that's when Patrice Désilets, the father of Assassin's Creed, was kicked out of Ubisoft for very complicated reasons. But back on track, Assassin's Creed 3 isn't a huge and obvious deviation, but upon...
I feel like the fact that the parkour system, like, look at the Origins, right? You have this complicated, what's it, Origins or something? This complicated parkour system, which allows you to traverse very big amount of ground all upwards, and now look at the actual game and realize it's a huge desert with no vertical structures, and tell me the game haven't lost their identity. The parkour system is kept over from like Syndicate and stuff. Kept over from the games which actually had places to climb. Right now in Origins, you can just again climb on a hut periodically, on a single hut. Most of the time, it's just an RPG, which I don't exactly understand why Assassin's Creed is an RPG suddenly. Yeah, it's just I'm just saying that a lot of identity was lost over time, and like Origins and Odyssey, while good RPGs in their own right, decent RPGs, I don't think are good Assassin's Creed games, because what you're doing in an RPG, like look at the Black Flag or any other Assassin's Creed game. When you have that combat system that was there before, you have a very quick, decisive action. You killed people. You didn't punch number bots with health bars. If you landed a good strike, they're dead. If they landed a good strike, you're dead. That's the big attractive point of Assassin's Creed, I think, to me, because everything was lethal. Assassin's Creed wasn't about sponge battles exactly. Nor were Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein was also not about sponge battles. But I don't. What is it with the studios and trying to turn every single thing in existence into an RPG with HP sponges? It just takes you out. It takes you so hard out of the experience. So stupid. Anyway, before I go on a tangent, let's continue. This is a long video.
On analysis, I think it's the first real time you saw a focus on very different core themes and ideas. That slowly paved the way for bigger changes. The focus became history over the Assassin Templar story. The modern day went from a mystery puzzle-solving experience to an action-adventure one. The lore became muddled and messy and stopped making as much sense as it had before. Connor and his story had very little to no actual connection to Desmond save for his MacGuffin key. It's also an entry where the controls changed, the focus of stealth was different, the combat focus shifted, all tiny things that, while they don't detract from the overall product and make it 100% not Assassin's Creed, they detract enough for me to say this was the point for me where it started down a path that led to Odyssey and beyond. There you go, chaps. That's your fucking AC3 retrospective. That's all you're getting. For Saints Row, I believe Saints Row 3 is that point. A point where the fundamental focus, tone, ideas, and design philosophy shifted away from what Saints Row 1 and 2 did and decided it had to be something else. It widened its target audience to be as accommodating as possible, and in doing so, lost the core audience that fell in love with the original 2, for the most part. And
kind of.
But then let's look at that. For me, how did Saints Row 1 and 2 do something that Saints Row 3 didn't, and why is that important to the reboot? The whole point of Saints Row from the start was to be a gang warfare sim. That's what they called it in development. While I don't think Saints Row fell into the contemporary or modern definition of the genre simulator, you can understand what they meant by that. In Saints Row 1, you start out as just a guy, down on his luck, who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You get initiated into one of the gangs, the Saints, and from there you work your way up. You learn what the Saints stand for, who they are, and you make your way to the top. slowly dominating the city, and on your way up, getting faster cars, flashier clothes, nicer
Yeah.
apartments, and cool perks. It's a simple experience, but an authentic one. It doesn't try too hard, it just does what it set out to do, and it does that well. It grounds you in an exaggerated display of gang warfare, but it grounds you because it takes itself seriously.
Yeah.
Sure, sometimes things can get outlandish. There's some ridiculous missions involving rocket launchers, building equipment. The characters can be so nonchalant about the whole thing, but what always worked and always grounded us in the story was that they all took it seriously.
They
were
did.
passionate about their gang. They often had personal stakes, and they showed us, as the protagonists, what we were fighting for. Whether that was Julius, Dex, Troy, or Johnny Gat, and throwing jokes in there, or the over-the-top scenarios, didn't suddenly make it a silly game or a joke game. The thing still took itself seriously, and that's what made Saints Row so special.
I'm gonna skull fuck that bitch.
When you look to the sequel, it did everything but more. All the
Oh,
funny
so
shit,
that's
all
where
the
it came
jokes,
from.
the
Okay.
ridiculousness, there's more of it. But all the melodrama,
I didn't know that was
gang
the.
warfare,
This
the
is what I
character
don't. I
moments,
didn't remember
there's
this. It's
more
for.
of that too.
It's
The
from where it
role-playing
came.
is silly. The situations you find yourself in are often bonkers, but the characters aren't self-aware. They're grounded in the universe, and they take it seriously. That's what makes the humor of the first two games work. The sword fight with the Ronin wouldn't be half as great of a set piece if the boss was ultra self-aware that he was doing crazy and ridiculous shit, pointing out how wacky everything is. That would detract from everything.
Yeah.
Is storming a dock full of ships burning to the ground in search of a gang leader to fight with a katana absolutely ridiculous?
Absolutely.
Yes. But the boss makes you believe it. When he finds Kazuo Okuji, the boss humiliates him, makes him look a fool, and the boss looks triumphant.
Did you really think you could match my skill?
No. I'm gonna cheat.
Finish it.
Hey, Wong, I want you to hear something. Come on, be a good sport. You hear that, Wong?
Hello, Curseful King.
You're welcome. Thanks.
When I escape, the world will not be big enough for you to hide in.
Luckily for me, you're gonna burn to death in a few minutes. Your son never should have fucked with my friends.
This scene doesn't play it for laughs.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the boss look stupid. It doesn't point out the very obvious absurdity of the scene. It indulges in it.
Yes.
The jokes come from the charisma of the character, not from, silly thing happened. Saints Row 2...
I feel like that's what makes a lot of the quote unquote modern experiences so stupid and non-memorable. They know the whole wacky thing and the ridiculous thing, but then they have all these Deadpool kick double kick W Deadpool kind of characters being like, oh, this is so ridiculous. They don't stop saying how ridiculous the situation is, and completely take out this by pop culture references, all this kind of shit, just kind of there. And it's just don't stop mentioning how weird that is. It's like Austin Powers, right? Basically, what's his name? That's the actor who did Austin Powers. His entire shtick being he's like saying something dumb and say like, this is not funny. After a while, people like, no, this is not funny. Why are we laughing at this? This is not funny.
Cursed_Wolf King cheer.
Thank you for one cheer. Don't cheer anymore, please. Stop.
in a lot of ways, is the closest a video game has come to being something like a Quentin Tarantino film. Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, Kill Bill, and
No.
so many others are movies that are absurd.
Absurd.
They're absolutely ludicrous, but the films indulge in that. They don't sit there and point out the absurdity with a false sense of profound self-awareness under a thin
Yeah,
veil.
it's stupid.
They
Wolf
use
King
the
cheer,
absurdity
Dex
to
one.
build
Thank
their
you.
own serious narrative from. And the humor often just finds itself.
Yes.
This is what Saints Row 1 and 2 both did, and Saints Row 2 more than ever. The utter balance of humor and sincerity, and
Yes,
above all,
yes.
depth.
I'm curious if you can keep your cavalier attitude when 2,000 volts are running through your body.
Oh yeah? And I'm curious if you can keep acting like a douchebag when I shove that gavel up your ass.
Drop it.
And where were you planning on having this little meeting? No.
The Saints used to own Stillwater. And it seems like the only motherfuckers that remember that is me and Gat. I think it's time we give those other crews a wake-up call.
Do you know how the Sons of Samedi are still moving product after we torched their farm and drug labs?
No?
Then shut the fuck up.
Okay.
You think that will stop me?
For fuck's sake, die, Eddie.
Damn, those some nice shoes.
Any last words?
Yeah, thank you.
Go to hell.
Yep. See,
Sorry, didn't catch that.
Go to hell. That wasn't very nice.
Daddy, I just bought that table.
Sorry about that.
see, that's the thing. That is the thing. They're all terrible people. All of them are terrible fucking people.
Fucker's still screaming.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Shago's dead by now.
Guy can dream, right?
They're dead, and you have the Saints' #1 fan running all.
If it wasn't for me, you would have died on that street corner.
If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been in a goddamn coma.
I guess that makes us even.
Not really.
This is Saints Row. It
Yeah.
glorifies the protagonist and the gang of the Saints. Not as heroes, not as the good guys. They're still criminals.
Yeah, they're
bad
criminals,
people you
brutal.
never want to meet. But it glorifies them as powerful, as ambitious, as triumphant against the other low lives of the city.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
grants them our respect. Because as the game takes them seriously, so do we. And in doing
Yep.
so, you create an absurdist story that is hilarious and engaging in equal measure. Saints Row 1 and 2 were not silly games. They were not joke games. They
Yes.
were engaging games with interesting characters, depth to their world and story. That were all
And come on, honestly, to consider that there is no possibility that you can make a ridiculous story without constantly self-referencing the fact that they're ridiculous is impossible. That's just foolish.
also absurd in scope and game design. So I think that establishes what I personally feel the point of Saints Row is. The things most people look for when they say, that just doesn't feel like Saints Row.
Yes.
You might be wondering then what I think of Saints Row 3. And I could go on here and critique Saints Row 3 and explain why I feel that game specifically doesn't stick the landing at all. But for many of the same reasons
yeah.
that I would critique Saints Row 3, I'm going to critique the reboot, because in my eyes, Saints Row 3 and the reboot share a lot of similarities. But if you do want to hear my thoughts on Saints Row 3 before moving on, I do actually break down exactly why I'm not in love with the game during the Saints Row 3 portion of my Saints Row retrospective in the description. So it's there if you're interested. With all the cards laid out then, I think it's time we talk about the obvious here. Why does Saints Row hate Saints Row?
Okay.
It's just, look, it's gone too far at this point. And let's just hope that they can, you know, they can sort out Saints Row with whatever they do with the next game. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how you're ever going to come back from making something like this.
Is
but,
this Gat out
you
of
know,
hell?
You can hope. You can hope. Make Saints Row great again is my motto.
If Saints Row is supposed to be a gang simulator, then first and foremost, it needs to present the player that fantasy. Being part of a criminal operation, leading, taking over the city, eliminating the competition, ruthlessly and without remorse.
Yes.
The Saints Row Reboot does elements of this wonderfully, but also most of it terribly. Santo Ileso is your playground in this game and serves as the city which births the 3rd Street Saints. Yes, there is still a 3rd Street, although there is no Saints Row. The ending also has a line mentioning Stillwater, suggesting the original city exists in this universe too, which begs the question, does Stillwater's geography remain intact? Is there another 3rd Street out there in a Saints Row district of this universe?
I mean, honestly, that's not Let's not pretend that there is no similar street names in cities. That's just to assume that there isn't is just ridiculous. So let's just move on.
I'm probably considering it more than the devs ever did. The mention of Stillwater in reality acts as a half-hearted reference to better days. Santo Ileso, however, is the closest they've come to recreating what made Stillwater work as an environment.
Yeah,
which
true.
isn't high praise considering that since Stillwater they've made Steelport, a virtual Steelport, and
Virtual Steelport.
literally hell.
Occam's razor.
It still finds itself with flaws, though. It's
Get
like
out of
they
hell.
took what made Stillwater work design-wise and then
Uh-huh.
looked at the character of it all and scrubbed it clean and pasted
Yep.
over it. Rim Jobs is now Jim Robs, and Freckle Bitches is now FBs. It acts to make the world feel sanitized, which
Yeah.
is something we'll be talking about later on.
Sanitization.
The city is varied, with
Because
plenty of
everyone is
different
so
districts,
fucking
none of which
pure and
outstay their
innocent in this
welcome,
world,
from
eh?
the city centre to the more suburban environments, the Badlands region, the casinos, and plenty more. So driving around the city never feels boring. Environmentally, it's graphically quite stunning most of the time, and it doesn't ever feel quite too big, unless you're tasked with crossing it in one drive, in which case things can start to feel tedious, as the world offers nothing of note to sink your teeth into outside of obviously marked activities and collectibles.
As usual.
But none of that is directly important for what I'm talking about in this video.
Big-
In Saints Row and
yeah.
Saints Row 2, the city of Stillwater was a playground, not somewhere to necessarily get immersed in and lose yourself like a Red Dead Redemption 2 or
course.
Skyrim. It was a backdrop,
kind of-
varied regions,
Let's be real. Skyrim wasn't exactly a place to lose yourself into, because if you start to lose yourself into the Skyrim, you will soon realize that there's nothing really there to be immersed in. It's just kind of like it's basically like trying to dive headfirst, like a running start, dive first into a puddle. You will all you will really have is a few broken teeth, most likely, and a mouthful of dirt.
interesting pedestrians, and plenty of wacky activities to sink your time into for rewards and to see the more strange side of the city. And Santo Ileso's motto is just that. Keep it strange, which is a sentiment that utterly plagues the design philosophy of the Saints Row remake. The strengths of Saints Row lie in the open world gameplay.
And you again made it around an RPG where half of the people are bullet sponges, which is all of the same thing ever. Thanks, Ubisoft.
Structure. If you ignore the context, which believe me, we will talk about, you can find joy in this game from the perspective of a Saints Row fan. I know I did, but exactly how do they manage that? Well, with the venture system. Upon forming your gang in the church hideout on 3rd Street, you're granted the Empire Building map. From here, using your money, you can place down criminal ventures from running insurance fraud to high-tech weapons research, clothing stores, and waste disposal. You choose where it goes and which you put your time into. In doing so, you slowly expand your grasp on the city. You'll see more saints patrolling the streets, and over time, by completing threats and clearing out the previous gangs, you'll begin to see less of the gangs who had a claim to the district to begin with, allowing you a slow and somewhat methodical expanse of the gang and domination of the city. But this only really stands from a game.
Thank you.
Plate Smasher 0G is now following.
Thank you. Plate Smasher 0G for following. If you want to share a video for me to watch, go to Discord. There's a command Discord, and place it in the channel there. I decided to just not have links around, so yeah, sorry. Yeah. Discord. Feel free to. I'm gonna give you the role once you're in, and then you're free. There's a video recommendations channel there, so feel free to post the link there. Yes. I'm gonna check in a moment. Give you the role, but yeah, let's continue.
Gameplay perspective, when you almost imagine your own context, because honestly, the venture system feels entirely separate, entirely disconnected from our characters and the main story at hand, which is why it's so much fun. It's not bogged down by most of the pathetic dialogue and empty character writing. It's not burdened by the poor structuring of the main missions. It's allowed to flourish as something you are active in achieving. Where Saints Row 1 and 2 made the main story about taking over the city, the new Saints Row makes it side content. The main story has near to nothing to do with the venture system, and it acts only as a way to sometimes gate main missions. But it honestly,
I think that's one of the reasons why it's enjoyable, because it's not really tied down to like any of the shitty story that the game presents. So that's a valid point, but also a point that basically says everything about the main parts of the game is shitty. So everything that is not connected to the shitty part of the game is going to be enjoyable, which is oof, oof,
never really comes up. And
woofsies.
it doesn't feel like the characters really want to dominate the city. They feel entirely passive. But back on the gameplay front, if you do disconnect and enjoy purely the open world content, you do feel like the leader of a gang, slowly building businesses and investing.
Yeah,
in
it's
Saints Row and Saints Row 2.
It's not a compliment, I think. It's not a compliment to say that everything that is not related to the initiative, the actual main real, it's in the video recommendations channel. Video recommendations, it's in the chatting zone. So there's clips, there's video recommendations right above the clip. So it's cool. You pause there.
You'd have to gain more respect points before you could move on to main missions. It acted as a way to encourage the player to seek out activities in the world, to essentially undertake other criminal ventures, from running drugs to escort missions. Like
Yeah, I'll watch it.
literally escort missions. Fuck, I love Saints Row. And in doing so, you'd be able to get back to the
Escort
main missions
mission.
of taking over the city through each of the gang's arcs. Now, the structure of the new Saints Row, I honestly think is kind of clever. It combines the city takeover and venture systems with these classic Saints Row side activities. So each venture you place down has a set amount of venture missions which are based on the classic side activities, things like insurance fraud, mayhem, or vehicle repossession. In completing these, it doesn't only tighten your grip on the district, but it'll increase your hourly revenue, and seeing that number climb in your bank account is incredibly satisfying. Coming from nothing, making money, placing ventures, completing activities,
I guess
that's
it's
the heart
fair.
of Saints Row's madness, and then investing more money into more places to make more money, to buy things in a system that screams Saints Row. It's what Saints Row 3 should have been. The perfect evolution of Saints Row 2. And with that
That's true.
alone, I had fun. I could create my own narrative, decide who I was, play as if I were the leader of a gang, genuinely out to win the city and dominate the criminal underworld. But this is sadly the game's only real strength. It has fine shooting mechanics, fine driving mechanics for what Saints Row is. They've always had an arcadey feel, using visceral violence as a means to have fun, and this game does that. The cars are fast, handling is snappy, and drifting is easy. You smash other vehicles out of the way and they empower you. People have been complaining online that the driving sucks compared to Grand Theft Auto, and yeah, if you're looking for realism, but Saints Row was never realism. It was never a problem in Saints Row 2, and I find that a false criticism. There's brilliant customization, whether for clothes,
It
cars,
just
or
looks kinda
weapons,
dumb.
It manages to make general progression through skills satisfying, and also earned by incorporating challenges as a means to obtain them. All of that is solid, but I cannot shake the feeling that it hates itself for it. It pushes the gameplay, which they've made to feel like a Saints Row experience, off to the sidelines. Something that they don't focus on, and it feels like they exist for the player, not for the character. Whereas in Saints Row 1, the focus was directly to make everything matter. Design director Christopher Sotland said specifically the team wanted to synthesize game mechanics together to make the missions, activities, and customization options work in tandem. The whole thing was one complete package.
Yeah.
The characters informed what you did. The activities informed the characters, and the missions informed character growth and the expansion of activities which cycle
Or
back
lack
around.
thereof.
It works together. The same applies to Saints Row 2. In the new Saints Row, the ventures, city takeover, and activities all work in
It's
tandem
disconnected.
together, but the main missions, the characters, the storytelling, the Saints feel completely disconnected. It's like you're playing two completely different games. And it stems from the fact that with the new Saints Row, the writing team and clearly management seems to absolutely
Oh, hey, Revan. Saints Row, Saints Row. We're watching the Saints Row reboot hates Saints Row.
hate Saints Row thematically. Taking over a city, killing,
It is,
a gang,
absolutely.
fantasy is fun for the player, but they don't like it when they have to make the characters also strive for that too. And so the writing leaves us at a huge disconnect between gameplay and story.
Yeah,
in a way that
feel free to
shatters
draw
the
me in anything.
experience, almost
Anything
as
you
bad
want,
as
it's
the
fine.
bugs shatter the experience. I had so
See, that's the problem. I think when I look at the old games, when I look at the Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2, I realize Saints themselves They were criminals. They were not good people, and they were not super. They were absolutely not made to be good people, not made to be heroes. This one tries to pretend they are relatable, just like everyone, but they are brutal criminals who kill hundreds of people with powered lasers. No. Just draw me whatever you want. It's fine. Let me do this with this thing. Yeah, it's like cool people. Yeah, super hipster. Cool people who's hip with the times. Well, isn't this most? Isn't the purpose of art, of like things, of entertainment, to be timeless? Isn't that how you do it? I already mentioned this before, but this isn't just how you do it. You need to make it timeless. Not try to go with the memes that will be irrelevant 5 years after this.
So many issues with this game, and I'm sure there are people who will say, I had no bugs at all. And you're a stone-faced fucking liar, aren't you?
I had no bugs at all. I had no problems at all. I didn't buy any microtransactions at all. It didn't bother me at all. I didn't care about that, you selfish asshole. Nobody gives a shit that you didn't have problems. Nobody gives a fuck. When other a few thousand people had those issues and their experience was ruined, you're irrelevant in this, mister. I had fun.
You talk to your mother with that mouth, you fucking liar. In one 3-hour play session, my game crashed 12 times. 12 fucking times. Are you kidding me? Not to mention the bugs that plagued plenty of the actual playtime itself.
What do you expect? A fucking participation prize for I had fun with this game. I had fun with this trash. Again, it depends. It depends. I think warlords are fine. Like I'll be honest. The only problem warlords of Draenor truly had, literally every problem in Warlords of Draenor truly had, is that there were not enough content. Right? The production was solid. I don't think there was but the production was solid. Everything about the game was already there. Nothing really particularly changed. Gameplay is good. There was a lot of disappointment in some things, right? The certain systems didn't work out. Certain story beats didn't work out. There was not enough content in general back then to like satisfy the large. It was disappointment. It was not bad quality objectively. It was not. Main point is, it was not bad quality. There was a lot of things people disagreed with, or were disappointed with. So they call it bad. I think they didn't. I think what's the problem? What problem is that World of Warcraft community expects one thing. But the game was, they expect everything to cater to them, to their particular. Every single person who plays MMO expects things to cater to their particular content experience. And when it does not cater to their particular content preference, it's not good. That's how it is. Except Shadowlands. Shadowlands suck objectively. Because I think they just kind of screwed the pooch there. In a lot of ways, Shadowlands. That's my opinion, I think. Shadowlands disappointed everyone. I think Shadowlands is amazing. Shadowlands is amazing in that it actually made everyone come together collectively. Every single part of World of Warcraft community come together collectively to say this sucks. Everyone united into a single front of fuck you. That's my opinion.
The style app was broken so often it caused me to have to reboot the game harder than when Volition rebooted the franchise. But haters gonna hate, am I right? Enemies would spawn in areas like.
Not to mention, like honestly, that's the worst part for me. The fact that there's employee from Volition on the official Saints Row account actually insulting fans and throwing shade at people. Good job. That's gonna sure attract attention to your game. Sure, gonna make the game sell. Sure, you fucking dumbass. Yeah, they do that. Isn't that just? Yeah, because that will be effective. That will be effective. Because insulting people who will buy your products is sure going to attract attention to it. It's sure gonna make your profit rise. And nobody learns from it. Nobody ever learns from it. Shut the fuck up. Like, just if you produce something and you release something into the world to be judged, shut the fuck up. You don't have any moral high ground over anyone. They won't get more profit. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of people who don't give a shit about this, and they're gonna buy it anyway. Case in point, Star Wars. True. But it's that's true. That's true. I guess that's sort of a point. But there is a lot of situations in which it's much less influence, much smaller companies and much smaller situations than, say, Nintendo are giving their attention to this kind of crap, right? And they yeah.
Couldn't reach, wheels would be missing. The
Sega
camera would
is
often
cool.
zoom to ridiculous distances when in the helicopter.
Sega!
And there was a whole area of the map I just couldn't enter because it would freeze me on the spot. The only way to escape was to reboot. Some of the bugs I will give credit to, however. They made me laugh often more than the actual writing of the game.
You think you can fire me? I literally built this business. My name's on the goddamn building.
Which, while actually a terrible outcome for Volition, was incredibly entertaining for me. They've been working on hot fixes, so props to them there, but this game needed a long time more in the oven before it released, and it's just not good enough for the money you're charging people. The most frustrating part of Saints Row is that there is a decent game in here. Under the bugs, the empire building mechanic and concept of slowly working to dominate a city is pretty well done. It's just the tone, the characters, and the
characters,
yeah, is so fucking bad. I can't help but think every time I see the main characters together, these are the exact losers that the Saints Row 2 gang would walk all over. I just don't feel Volition has ever managed to truly understand what made the Saints so engaging.
See, that's a good phrase. The new Saints Row gang look like the fucking losers. Yeah, the losers that the old Saints Row gang would walk right over. I would just murder all of them. Not even stop to think about it. Just bang, gone.
As a gang post Saints Row 2. Or maybe they understand perfectly and they're actively avoiding it. The main cast in the new game will have these moments where I'm like, okay, I kind of vibe with them.
I wrote the fine print myself.
Then one of them will take a selfie and ask which hashtags to use, and I fucking audibly...
Yes. honestly, the fact that Sonic actually gets a seemingly decent game recently. No. No, I think all the people who are upset. I watched some of the clips from the video, and the main characters consist of Nerd. This is a criminal gang. Nerd complaining about his insurance or something like that. A guy whose entire personality revolves around not having a shirt. That's it. That's his entire personality. No, that's his entire personality. And the game tries to pretend, that these people who killed hundreds of people on the street, murder everyone, destroy everything, They good. They're good. They're heroes. The game tries to pretend. Ludonarrative dissonance is strong in this one.
Sigh.
Ooh, I'm gonna post about it. Yada yada da, yada da da.
So listen to this.
Hashtag take me to church. Hashtag me digs who this. Hashtag list. And post it.
It's shit like this, and they're really cat-handed
Hashtag.
capitalism that does it.
Hey man, if you want a $300 waffle maker, you can buy it with the exposure the idols pay you in. Don't expect us to chip in.
I've told you before.
But it's not funny. If they wanted to do funny, it's not funny. It's not funny. What is even this? If it's a funny game, that is not funny. If it's a funny game that is if it's a funny game that is not funny, then it's not a funny game.
Idols are trying to build a post-capitalist society where money is not a concept.
I'm not one of these people who hates politics in games. I think media is inherently political, especially if it wants to have some sort of deeper meaning narratively that you can actually apply to the world. And to be fair, what better place to critique capitalism than in a game where a group takes full advantage of it for their own gain? Now, I'm not anti-capitalist, hot take, but I think capitalism is kind of fun. It's not totally fair, and yeah, society needs some real change fundamentally to help people at the bottom not be living in complete squalor, because capitalism should be a viable means for all to live, not working to simply live and get by, but working to earn. I'm not a well-versed politician, that's just my incredibly vague and summarized take that could easily change in 6 months, but it's entirely relevant to this video, and I digress. This is a game where you can mock giant corporations, guys in suits like Dane Vogel and Ultor. It can be done, and it can be done well. It's just, this game executes it fucking abysmally. The characters are treated at points like a mouthpiece for the devs. The Saints shouldn't be socialists. They should be manipulating capitalism purely for selfish reasons. The game can make a point to critique capitalism. The characters shouldn't, though, and they certainly shouldn't be portrayed like heroes.
Oh yeah. I don't understand. That I objectively don't understand. When there has been much more broken games out there. This has a trash story. This has boring, empty world. This has no personality whatsoever. It's very sanitized. Every single edgy joke there was before it got cut out. Every single trait that they had in terms of personality. The fanboys are always yelling really loudly. That's not a surprise.
Heroes. What made Saints Row so fun in the first and second games is that it was the fantasy of being a criminal, being a bad person, doing things in a world where it didn't matter because there weren't any real consequences. You could fuck up the cops with Johnny Gat, you could deal in drugs, act as a fake cop and kill innocent people in crude ways for monetary gain. And even simple things like robbing stores, which this game doesn't even let you do, because how can you portray the Saints as the good guys when the game actively lets you shit on the little guys?
This is really not a big deal. We just knock off a payday loan place. No one gives a shit if people rob those bastards.
One guard out front and the owner at the till. He's a real scuzzbag. I want some kick a dog. So, fuck that guy.
I don't have much. We don't want your money, just his. Get out of here.
The Saints were never the heroes or
Yeah,
the good
see?
guys. They were just the ones whose side you were on. They were as bad as all the other gangs, maybe worse, which is why they always won. It was that power fantasy, that host of morally awful people that made it so damn fun, indulging in something you probably shouldn't be. The main cast of the Saints Row Reboot are a bunch of seemingly morally superior, abnormally boring, pathetic fucking losers, and that's putting it mildly. Before we go any further, let me say I went with a female boss and I picked the English accents. I'm English. You can probably tell because you can hear my voice. I always went with the Cockney accent
they did.
in Saints Row 2 through to 4, and sadly they didn't fucking include it in this game, so I had to go with the female boss to get as close as I could to what I used to create in the old games.
There is a lot of just so sanitization of things, I guess. There's a lot of merits in having darker media, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, there's a lot of merits in having darker media and express yourself without constraining. Obviously don't like do anything like immoral, but
did
it's
try
just
out some other voices though, male and female, and they're all.
I like me some dark stuff. I like me some Warhammer 40k stuff. I like me some other stuff similar in nature to that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
Delivered in similar ways, which leads me to believe it was no individual voice that led to the outcome that I had. Each were
Right? Right? It's so weird that the game about being the bad guy, effectively, the criminal, the scoundrel, deserves less of a rating than a cosmic opera about the hero. The hero.
directed to act in a specific way, with less authority, more passive, totally sensitive, the complete opposite of the boss in Saints Row 2.
Shandy, you got the Sons of Sandy.
It's gotta
Yeah.
be them.
Fuck you say?
Nina's down. Kev's down. Snickerdoodle is definitely down.
There are very rare
Snickerdoodle.
moments where the game seems to do anything close to serviceable with them. So few that I can point out every single one to you right now.
No!
1.
I wrote the fine print myself.
2. 3. 4. Oh, that's it? Fuck me. These are the
Yeah.
only 4 moments in the whole game where I felt we were doing something close to Saints Row. And the last one isn't even the main character doing it. Plus, even then, they're not that great of examples, are they? Especially being built on the wet mound of sand that is the foundation of this game's character writing. Let's draw some direct comparisons to really illustrate my point here. In Saints Row 2, what are the boss's motivations? Well, after escaping with Carlos from the prison, we get this scene where we find out Ultor took over the row. The Saints scattered, Julius is missing, Troy is chief of police, and Dex is just gone. The boss is instantly characterized as someone who found meaning in the Saints. The people that took them in when they needed purpose, taught them how to work for something, and gave them a sense of camaraderie. That is your introduction, a deep loyalty to the Saints and a want to build them up again. We're fucking over these other gangs. We're fucking up Ultor. Nobody gets to take our city. It belongs to the Saints. What's our motivation in the Saints Row reboot?
I don't have to love it. I have to pay my student loans.
Fuck me.
Okay, I think the key failing of this game is that they just had the party members to you rather than have you recruit them. Yeah. The game assumes, in a lot of ways, the game assumes that you like them. The game assumes you'll like them, all of them. The characters. The game assumes you're gonna feel the same way your boss feels about them. Which they won't. They won't. Most of the people who play this game, they don't give a shit about your characters unless you build them up. They don't. What do you say? Whatever was not written does not exist, right? It was irrelevant to another example, but whatever was not shown, it was not shown how they met. It was not shown how they interacted with each other. It was not shown how they became friends. So there is no reason. It doesn't exist. There is no reason for you to care about them. No reason.
Fuck me. I cannot tell if they think they're being relatable and this is a meaningful story or if it's just a fucking joke. I can't tell. It's a mess. The dialogue is all like this as well.
That yacht's guarded AF.
Dude, did you just say AF?
Yeah, it's an abbreviation.
First, we fucking swear all the time. Second, it's only an abbreviation when texting. AF, as fuck, same number of syllables.
Okay, fine. This is gonna be an epic statement because that yacht is guarded as fuck.
Hell yeah, dude!
One of them is going to learn what happens when you try to blow up a saint.
Hell yeah, dude!
I am picturing the person who wrote this coming to mind, and it's one of the Discord mods from a fucking Beluga video.
Oh my god. Pablo! Yeah, Pablo wrote this. I'm sure he's the writer behind this. Look, Pablo, this is the writer behind the game.
Nobody talks like this. Nobody. It feels like dialogue ripped straight out of Life is Strange. And in Life is Strange, the odd and quirky dialogue is endearing because the game knows what it is. It's an exaggerated slice of life for teenagers. Saints Row characters shouldn't be talking like this. It's embarrassing. They are adult children.
He was a nice guy. Sad to see him go.
He carved out Sergio's heart.
Okay. He was an intense guy. Sad to see him go.
It feels like...
This is like again. Let me. Yeah, yeah. This is the dialogue here. I'm gonna show you the dialogue here.
I was part of a special task force of very young-looking cops who infiltrated.
The writer.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
This is
How do you do, fellow kids?
the writer. This is the writer of New Saints Row. He writes the dialogue. This was this one.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
This is the guy who
Like
writes
a
the
bunch
dialogue.
of old blokes in suits sat around trying to figure out how the young people speak.
Mhm.
Oh, look at this completely unrelated piece of footage on the screen. Amongst all of this dialogue, we never actually seem to learn much of note about our core cast, nor do they seem to feel natural together. It feels like when you see woke Twitter users conversing in such a robotic way as to not offend each other or accidentally commit the irredeemable act of a microaggression. It works only to create this aura of cringe and overall embarrassment. It's trying almost too hard to be
It is also fake as fuck. Let's not forget that it's also fake as fuck.
sensitive, and for a series like Saints Row that was built on being pretty insensitive, you've got to ask the question, why did they make this game? They've decided to take Saints Row and, like I said before, completely and totally sanitize it beyond narrative recognition. If you hate your own franchise's history this much, if you hate the themes, the tone, the writing, the characters, the fantasy of it,
Why not just make your own franchise? Why just not make your own game? Why is it Saints Row? Why is it Saints Row? It's not Saints Row. It's another game. If you make another game, nobody will complain. Nobody will complain. Like literally, nobody will complain. You won't find the Saints Row fanatics complaining. You won't. I'd say a solid portion of people. It's a solid problem. A solid portion of people who would play the game if it was not Saints Row, if it was another game, they'd be fine with it. They'd be absolutely fine with it. But what is the actual thing? They are too fucking inept at thinking about anything new, so they take old products, regurgitate it. Regurgitate it, strip it of what actually made it fun and enjoyable by people who watch it, and spit it back out to get more money.
why did you make this game? Which is another key aspect of the characters in this game.
They're simply not capable of thinking of anything original or interesting. Yeah. Honestly, characters as timeless as Scooby-Doo Gang, they're meant to be timeless. They're meant to be shiftable, changeable, adaptable. Same like Batman. Like, you hate it, you like him, it doesn't matter. Batman existed as a funny, quirky person in the 50s. Then then there was the edgy Batman. Then there was the fucking musical Batman. There was so many of those Batmans out there. Edgier Batman, completely not edgy Batman. Holy smokes! That kind of Batman, that also existed. Same, it's just Samurai Batman. Yeah, Batman exists to be changed. Nobody is surprised when another version of Batman is introduced, right? Nobody is surprised because it's meant to be fluid. It's meant to be fluid. It's meant to be changeable. It's meant to be timeless in a lot of ways. Batman, as a character, just a psychopath putting on a bat mask, right? The current takes are usually made by people who have their own stupid ass fan fiction vision of how the franchise is supposed to go. So some Karen who thought that Velma should be the main character and hated everyone else decided to make a show that shits all over Scooby-Doo because nobody cares about that she's black. I mean, someone probably cares that she's black or she's lesbian. Somebody probably hates that. People are weirdos. Yeah. I don't understand that. I literally don't understand that. This is like, you know what this reminds me of, Raven? This reminds me of people who like watch YouTubers they hate purely to leave like a comment on the video, and then make their own video about that YouTuber they hate. And then they make their own video, which they waste months and months of efforts on, right? To criticizing the YouTuber they hate. They waste months of their time if you making that video just to shit all over something. But they're still using the content of that something in the process. That's what it reminds me of.
All act as ways to detract from the original games, in ways that feel insulting to our investment and intelligence. When they're looking for a hideout, they're initially dismissive about 3rd Street.
Where is this church?
Up on 3rd.
Oh, that place.
When they were going on a team bonding trip, Eli says how they thought they were going to use the Fleur for their matching hats, and the response to it is this.
To be fair, it's not hate. He actually pointed up some things he enjoyed about the game. He actually pointed up a lot of things he enjoyed about the game. The gang system is fun. The side activities are kind of cool. If you don't, it has been already 20-30 minutes. I think critique is different from hate because he doesn't hate the game, nor why this game. This is not why this game sucks. This is why Saints Row Reboot hates Saints Row. This is why the game hates its own identity. This is a video of why the game hates its own identity, not why the game is bad. Which is you're kind of being nitpicky a little bit, so I can be literal, bro.
Thought we agreed to use the Fleur.
This is better.
True.
Nina.
It even bleeds into the
That's fair.
side content because there's a cheap reference to when the boss killed Mero's girlfriend in Saints Row 2.
The client wants us to crush the car with the body inside. You know, to send a message.
With his own monster truck. Brutal.
He won't feel nothing.
But the boss, of course, points out that that's simply brutal. They're better than that. Because with every reference to Saints Row, the devs want to use their new characters to make it clear they're above Saints Row 1 and 2. They're better than that. The church was dumb, and so is your investment in it. It needs to be overhauled into a glossy and glitzy manner. The Fleur is stupid, and so is your love for it. The fucking waffle is superior, and you like Saints Row 2? You enjoyed the boss in that game? Well, they were brutal and bad. Our new boss would never do such a horrendous thing. They're better. They're only fighting the rich capitalists, not the poor and downtrodden, and would never let an innocent get caught in the way. What heroic criminals they are, the goddamn saints. And their fucking cat. The story of this game suffers from myriad problems. We've already discussed tone and character, but the general structure is destroyed due to the entirety of the empire building being relegated to glorified side content. Now, the actual missions, don't get me wrong, are good. Like, they're well-designed missions for a Saints Row game in terms of what you're actually doing gameplay-wise. I take this any day in terms of gameplay and mission design over Saints Row 3's talk to a character, do 3 random mindless side activities, do it again. So I will give it that aspect. Again, it's the narrative and contextual elements that dismantle this story, if you would even call it a goddamn story. The game begins by establishing the boss as being an employee of Marshall, one of the 3 gangs.
Don't worry about it.
Marshall is like Stag though.
What kind of
3 because
what kind of mods you have? I'm curious. Anything super new? I'm curious. Yeah, figured as much. Have fun with that. Make sure you don't overload your game with mods though, because they usually tends to take like a lot of time to actually open the game when you overload the mods. I have a lot of mods. Had a lot of mods at some point. The game opened like a lot. Oh, okay, cool.
For some reason. What would a Saints Row game be without hover bikes and VTOLs? Well, it would be the most loved one, Saints Row 2, but that's beside the point. Along with the boss, we meet your 3 core friends, Kev, Nina, and Eli. We've already discussed how entirely bland and
see you later, Raven.
We'll skip over that bit. Nina works for the Los Panteras, a gang who I guess are into cars, like that's their thing.
Into cars,
I guess they're like the West Side Rollers, but also they don't seem to have their own like racing scene, or like, I mean, we don't know what they do in the city. We don't understand the power balance of the city at all, and so the context of all of these gangs becomes lost. Kev is working for the Idols, which is another gang. They hate capitalism, I think, and like they take selfies in combat. That's it. And then we have Eli, a pussy. He's someone who has business knowledge and literally is completely not the type of person
Okay,
who would start
cool.
the gang.
Thank you.
Always telling you killing is wrong, never wants to get his hands dirty, and actually, you know what? It was a joke the first time, but he is a fucking pussy. Now, I thought after starting the gang, we had a pretty decent setup for our 3 lieutenants to each have their own arc where we'd learn about them and get to learn about the gang they were connected to. It sort of writes itself. Nina leads the charge on the Los Panteros. Kev, the idols, and Eli, with his business knowledge, is head of figuring out how to take down Marshall, the company the boss originally worked for. This makes sense, right? We'd get time with each character and then also get cutscenes for the gangs they were in charge of to understand their current position in the city, similar to how Saints Row 1 and Saints Row 2 did it and also nailed it. But they don't do that at all. We see the Los Panteros leader Sergio in one cutscene.
Okay.
And then he fucking dies. I'm not even making this up. The game doesn't ever land on a purpose. It never lands on a focus. It just meanders for its length. Things keep happening, and also nothing happens at all. Wait, where have I heard this before?
Stuff keeps happening, but like also nothing happens either.
I'm not sure what the actual story of this game is. For most of the game, the Saints just want some money to pay off their student loans and shit. They never actually establish genuinely wanting to own the city. They dick around for so many missions. Like, why am I helping Kev get a fucking burger toy thing from Not Freckle Bitches? What is the purpose of this? Why is he such a fucking loser? Now we're just taking out the Los Panteros cars because Nina wants revenge for having her car destroyed? Maybe this will lead to something. Nope. We're driving Nina around while she tries to buy art. Oh, we're destroying an idle boat? Maybe this will lead to the Saints actually aspiring to take over the city and takes things serious. Nope. We're LARPing. We're fucking LARPing. Could you imagine if Pierce or Shaundy had asked Johnny Gat to go fucking LARPing in Saints Row 2? Could you imagine Julius LARPing? What is this trash volition? It's like not only are the Saints a mouthpiece for their really on-the-nose politics, they're also a mouthpiece for saying, we're really cool actually. The Saints said so. Being woke and LARPing and fucking man-children is so cool. I bet Kev writes up mini Twitter reviews for every new MCU Disney Plus show. Yeah, so this episode of She-Hulk where she twerks is totally rad. Thank you, Kevin Feige. Hashtag. Fucking hell. There is no story to this game. There's no real thread. They just start a gang. There's no development.
You know, that's I don't exactly want to say this because I do hashtags and I do the whole Twitter thing. I think I do the whole Twitter thing and I do the whole media presence. I'm not the one to say this, but this is it's just kill me, please. Please kill me.
They just start the gang, and then each mission is just a random thing happening that has no bearing on the next random thing happening. They never decide to focus on each gang and methodically take over the city. They never delegate. The boss never even really does any bossing. There's no structure to the story. There's no structure to the gang either.
They're all
You
pals.
never feel like the Saints are a real presence. The main 4 do everything, and they always do it alone because it's usually completely unrelated to their fucking criminal enterprise anyway. On top of that, there's barely any actual cutscenes. The game is aware of how unimportant most of its missions are, and they just give you an in-game piece of dialogue or a phone call. It knows it's being pointless. It doesn't even try to pretend. In Saints Row 1 and 2, you'd have a cutscene for every mission, and everyone gave you something. Characterization for the boss of the rival gang whose arc it was a part of, characterization for Troy, Dex, or Johnny, and obviously in Saints Row 2, Pierce, Shaundy, and Carlos, with Gat sort of acting as your right-hand man. In this game, cutscenes are totally scarce, and when they do show up, your mouth doesn't fucking move, or their heads are completely missing. Who made this? The only storyline I can discern from this game is the one with the Nuali. It's just this dude who you put behind bars for Marshall at the start of the game. I don't really know who he is. He's just like a famous criminal or something. At the midpoint, after dicking around fucking LARPing for a while, the Saints decide to pull a train heist to make some big money and finally pay off their student loans. Because they need help for whatever reason, I'm not sure. Like, I don't even know what the Nuali actually contributes to the mission in the end, that, like, they needed him for it, that they couldn't have just done themselves with their many gang members. But anyway,
of course. Of course, they have to have the cool mustache guy.
Break him out, he joins you, and he's just like around now, sometimes without a head. He doesn't do a lot. He just sort of hangs around in some missions, and then like, you part ways, sort of. And I guess they build like a shallow relationship. The only thing of note that he does do is kill Sergio, which needs to happen so that we can get the ending of the game in which the Nuali, you guessed it, betrays you and says,
Because I cannot live your life if you are still breathing.
What does that mean? I still don't know what that means.
What? What? Give me a moment. Well, because I cannot let you let your life cannot live because I cannot live your life. If you're still he I think okay I think he wants to become the boss or something. Okay.
What does that mean? I still don't know what that means. I guess he wants the gang, but we see later that he has a gang, like a huge gang. Why did he? After burying the boss has a vision, one which plays on insecurities about not being able to help your friends, not being tough enough to kill the bad guy.
You do not have what it takes. When the real bad guys show up to play,
I'm going to kill the bad guy this time.
To be honest, what the fuck? The moment where Sergio is killed isn't played like this important character moment that sows seeds of doubt. In fact, it's never brought up again, and the boss goes back to being the boss. But at the end, for some reason, the game tries to, like, gaslight you into thinking there was an arc, or depth, or substance. I'm losing my mind over this. There is nothing here, but the game is trying to pretend there fucking is. Volition, you cannot fool me. You didn't write any actual material here. You're completing an arc that didn't exist for the length of the game. Are you kidding me? A lot of the writing...
I love how the most of the cutscenes I actually saw in this game, from his perspective, they just lack heads. They just lack heads. So this guy Noali or whatever his name is just a floating hair with mustache that moves.
Feels like it conflicts with itself. It feels like there was 10 different writers and none of them actually spoke to each other, because you get scenes like this. And then you get scenes like this.
Waffle iron.
And they're like moments apart from each other. This isn't tonally or thematically solid, it's the complete opposite. It's entirely tumultuous. The last mission, I feel, accentuates this more than any other part of the game. You can summarize this game's writing problems in this one mission alone. So let me just zip through these events in order.
Okay.
You're celebrating your success, and then the Nuwali betrays you, buries you alive in maybe the closest thing to Saints Row 2 in this game. Then right after this very Saints Row scene, it throws you into a fucking dream world where you're on a board game about animals that the main characters played in a cutscene one time, and we're meant to believe this carries emotional significance to the plot. After breaking free from the dream with the help of a random fucking cat that we see all of twice in the game in the background cutscenes, we walk through the Saints HQ where all of our gang members have been slaughtered, which again is complete tonal whiplash.
Damn, bro. You sit in
to
here.
Get weapons in which the boss, knowing her friends are captured, calls all of them individually and leaves them voice messages saying that she's coming to save them. So they can pretend to show character through the most vapid of interactions. Not even interactions, actually. She's speaking to nobody. After getting the weapons, you drive to the place where you first face the Nuwali, listening to Eli's obnoxious fucking self-help podcast. Did they think this will come across as satisfying, or at this point had they done, like, so many jokes that they were just like, well, the game is a joke. Like, we can't have a cathartic, satisfying conclusion to a meaningful story. Like, no. Everything is a joke. Even the game itself is a joke. Once you're there, you fight a shit ton of guys. Like I said before, he has a huge gang. Why is he even doing this in the first place? We're treated to this cringe fucking scene.
I've had a long fucking day. Can we please be reasonable, people?
I can't.
You're gonna say you can't tell me because the Nuwali will kill you, then I'll say, if you don't tell me, I'll kill you. And we're just gonna be right back to where we started, so let's just skip that part.
I watched this one.
I can put the address in your phone.
Oh. Yeah, no. That'd be super helpful.
Okay.
Fucking Christ.
You're a fucking maniac.
Have a lot of practice and a rage.
Then we steal the VTOL.
Okay.
Fuck's sake, not again. Fly to the casino and blow shit up, storm our way in.
I don't...
Shit, are we mic'd?
No. This is something else.
How do you know that?
It's our roommate, isn't it? They're here to say, save you.
The game pulls a my friends and my power moment like this is fucking Kingdom Hearts. We head to the roof where the boss and the Nuwali square off in what I can only assume is a reference to the end of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay.
I hate movie references. I think it's cheap comedy to use scenes from a famous movie and call it parody. It's just using a movie scene. Clever
Yeah.
parody has to make fun of the source material, poke fun at it, whether the narrative or the filmmaking, for comedic effect. Just using a scene from a movie in something else isn't parody, it's just using a scene from a movie in another thing. We win the fight, and then they rip off the ending of Saints Row 2 without fucking earning it.
You ruined everything.
Oh my god, they literally did. Oh my god. They literally did rip off Saints Row 2. They literally ripped off Saints Row 2, but they didn't earn an ounce of it. They didn't earn a fucking ounce of it. Fuck off. And that's the end of the main story. They look out onto the city the same as the end of Saints Row 2, but like, did they really achieve anything?
No, they
Los
didn't.
Panteras was taken out by the Nuali. The idols just still exist, and so does Marshall. We just killed the leader guy, but he handed the company over to someone else anyway. We just did a load of bullshit, and they just act triumphant. They don't even own the city. The characters didn't even have an arc. Nothing fucking happened. Why is this game gaslighting me into thinking something happened after an hour of tonal whiplash? I'm absolutely, completely baffled that this exists. It's an exercise in some of the worst writing I've ever seen from a product. I
love that event that, again, all of the cutscenes used here are from his playthrough. And in all of them, like literally all of them, something isn't working. Or something is wacky, or something is just not totally consistent and just broken. Modern gaming, everybody. Modern gaming.
Peak on the Obi-Wan show a few months back, and this makes that look like a bloody masterpiece.
Bloody.
Everything I have written in the script that I've recorded
Uh-huh.
up until this point
Yeah.
in the video was before I played the final mission, the secret ending, if you will, called Best Friends Forever. Over the course of Saints Row,
Yeah.
the protagonist and the other main characters in the game, Kev, Nina, and Eli, reference continuously that they really, really want to go karaoke, right? Which, okay, I guess. I don't know why you would want the Saints to go and do karaoke in the first place. I spent a very long time
Karaoke?
grinding money because the final mission is locked behind a barrier, buying every venture. And when you get to the end, ventures start costing $1.6 million.
Of course.
You don't accumulate quickly at that point. You have to buy 3 of those. That took me 24 hours of leaving my PC on to grind money, getting up in the night every 3 hours to take the money out of the bank account in-game and then let it accumulate again. I had sleepless nights to get this fucking ending. Then, after all of that, you have to build the Saints Tower, which costs $8 million. I could only accumulate 3.5 million every 4 hours. So you can imagine what the hell that was like. All to get the final ending, which I assumed would put a cap on the end of the game, would summarize everything, would bring everything together, and would give some sort of satisfying conclusion to these characters.
Did they just go to the karaoke? Did they just sing in karaoke?
But instead I got this.
If you see a faded sign at the side of the road that says 15 miles to the shack.
They just sing. They just sing in karaoke. They just sing karaoke. They just sing karaoke. They just sing in karaoke.
They do the whole song. The whole song.
Love Shack, baby. Love Shack.
They just sing karaoke.
And this happens.
Enough outside just to get down.
And this. And I.
What? Okay, this is Okay. You know what this is? This is indulgence. This is this point. This is indulgence. This is indulgence, and I'm assuming everyone likes you. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes these people. This is not funny. This is not fun. Most people spent hours upon hours of grinding, days upon days upon grinding to get this. To get enough money to get this, most of the people don't even give a fuck to do it because it's just why? Why do you do that? Why would 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 you? Well, why would you spend days upon days upon days upon grinding days just for some fucking losers to sing a song? This is worthless. Okay.
A group of people had to storyboard it, write it out,
Yep.
animate the whole thing,
Yep.
voice act it,
Yeah.
and at no point during that process did anyone think
This is dumb.
Maybe no. There is no satisfying cap on Saints Row.
No.
There is no conclusion to this game.
Assuming there will be a satisfying cap at the conclusion to the story is a very naive thing of you, my dear friend.
There is simply an awfully choreographed, terribly put together, cringy karaoke sequence with these terrible characters we've come to know over the course of the game.
We didn't have
a story that made absolutely no sense.
Mhm.
That gaslit you into believing there was anything meaningful going on in the 11th hour. And
Gaslight
then
girl boss.
It just ends out of nowhere. The side content is completely disconnected from the main story. The main story has nothing to say, no story to tell.
Yeah.
Overall, I feel sad because I played the whole fucking thing. And I'm glad I wrote most of the script prior to playing that final mission, because it would have definitely tampered with my view of the game.
Yeah.
Because right now, I am so... I don't know the word. Just disappointed. Just upset.
I'm
let
not
down,
mad, I'm
confused,
disappointed.
Because it ends on a note that is so vapid, more than anything else in the entire game.
Yeah.
I just feel pretty empty, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't now look at the empire building system and go, yeah, there's fun to be had there, because it ends in a Jesus.
Good job, anyone. Yeah, honestly, this is just.
I'm
I swear to
blown
God.
away, mainly at the arrogance that they genuinely felt they earned a dance party ending. Like, they're up there with the greatest pieces of cinema of all time.
Yeah.
Toy Story 2, Jojo Rabbit, fucking Shrek. This, along with everything else I've discussed in this video, is so far from what made Saints Row big in the first place. I'm disappointed that Volition and Deep Silver don't see the merit.
Look, Saints Row might be not for you, right? It might not be for people in this generation. Like, people they don't enjoy ultra violence. They don't enjoy this kind of thing. They don't enjoy to play the bad guy. They don't enjoy to be in a position where they just don't. Where they are not playing the best character. They don't have the moral high ground. They don't have any high ground whatsoever. They just claw their way into success, manipulate, kill, maim, do everything. Right? Might not be for everyone. Violence presented in like games like 40K, franchises like 40K, everything might not be for everyone, right? But at least don't pretend that this is improvement. Don't pretend that is improvement. I know I'm using a straw man here. That I'm going to be very self-aware about what I'm saying here. I know I'm using a straw man here, but I did see a lot of people say that this was somehow an improvement. I did see a few people say that, and it's not true. Oh yeah, I will watch them. Don't worry about
Saints Row 1 and 2. I'm confused at how they twisted what was an attempt to recapture Saints Row 3, a game I don't even think is that good, and somehow made it worse. This game is a joke. It's
a
garbage.
joke.
Despite the few positives I listed at the top of the video, this game doesn't deserve your time, your money, or your respect. It isn't deserving of the Saints Row name. It's an absolute embarrassment made by
It's not even
out-of-touch
Saints
developers
Row.
trying to create something that is so sanitized to the point it pleases almost nobody but the lowest common denominator. And if that offends you, I don't know, get fucked. I expected this game to suck. I went in hoping to have my mind changed, honestly wishing to have my mind changed, because I miss Saints Row. I loved Saints Row, and this is an absolute goddamn insult. By the way, big thank you to Volition and Deep Silver for providing me with a review code. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Now, if you're interested in critical thinking and analysis, two things I think are incredibly important when producing content like this, consider checking out the sponsor of this video, Brilliant. Brilliant is a website and an app that lets you learn and engage with all kinds of interesting concepts.
Let's have this one.
Foundational
Let's
logic and
have this one.
statistics and finance. They teach you through interactivity. I've only been using it for a little while.
I'm going to
but some of the
let it
lessons in
run.
logic have
I'm gonna
not
let it
only
run
been
because
fun, they've been incredibly
yeah.
engaging. It's nice to have a bite-sized puzzle to run through every day or as often as you want. I find this specifically helpful when training your brain to think more critically and logically. And with the type of writing I do here on YouTube, it's definitely nice to keep your brain ticking away. No matter the field you choose, of which there are plenty, there are always basic to more advanced lessons. So Brilliant can be used by newcomers and by veterans in these subjects and always be helpful to learn new skills. To get started for free,
I mean, technical customization is fine.
/Lazers or hit the link down in the description. The first
That was
200
fine.
of you will get
I'm not saying
20% off
it
Brilliant's
wasn't fine.
annual
It was
premium
fine.
subscription. So if you're interested, head down to the description, click the link, and get started with Brilliant today.
Okay, cool.
Seriously though, like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what I did. Ever since the Horizon Forbidden West video that I made a couple months ago, I've sort of changed the way I make content because I had so much fun making that video, and I think it made me realise that not everything I do needs to sort of conform to this very rigid set of rules that I guess thought my content was. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I guess being able to make
putting yourself in the cage of certain memes and qualities and cliches probably not gonna fill you with internal enjoyment of doing something. You gotta differentiate, gotta be creative about things. It's only natural.
Shorter videos, even longer videos potentially in the future.
Shorter
things on
videos.
Subjects, come at things from different angles. Really find a
And
more
not-
focus for a video too, and throw a bit more personality in there as well. It's
Yes.
been cathartic. It's been nice, and I think this video was this was fun to make. None of this video was ever a chore, ever felt like a job.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
just had a blast from start to
That's
finish
good.
working on
That's
this.
very good.
Not so much fun playing the game. I will say that. That was yeah.
You know, the funny thing about this is that the people who review games, you don't realize just how many shitty games they have to go through, and just how much of the predatory systems they have to test out. Spending hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of their time playing something they don't like because they want to be the most aware of every single detail about something to be able to review it to its fullest extent.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort.
coaster, but one that just goes down.
It's a lot of effort for that.
You know. But I do hope that you had fun with it because I had a lot of fun working on it. If you haven't already checked out my Saints Row retrospective, go give it a watch. I'm sure if you enjoyed this video, you'd enjoy that video. And if you came from that video, thank you. I hope you
Certainly.
liked them both. I've got a few other major projects coming this year. One of them being a big retrospective on Assassin's Creed 1 for the 15th anniversary.
Interesting.
Which I'm going to put my all into. If you know me, you know I absolutely fucking love the first Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed was fun.
Make sure everyone
At
else
some point.
appreciated it in the same way. With a video that really does it justice. I might do a video on The Witcher 1. I don't know if I'm going to be able to squeeze it in, but I'm going to try and get that out in October, and then get the Assassin's Creed 1 video out in November. And I also have another video coming out end of this month on Subnautica Below Zero. Bit of a smaller one, but a follow-up to my Subnautica video nonetheless.
Lovely.
Should be pretty fun too. Anyway, that's it from me. I won't keep you any longer. Don't forget to follow me on social media if you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing, my takes on things that I don't necessarily post on YouTube, and updates for future videos. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are both in the description. I also have a second channel where I post more low-effort stuff. I compile down stream series into shorter videos so you can see my entire time with a particular video game. Currently, I'm going through all the Final Fantasy, so if you're interested in that, that is there, as well as condensed videos of like stream clips where like I have a take on something. If someone asks me about like a new game trailer or a new piece of news or whatever, and I throw a take out there, I'll
You know what?
edit that down into like a short little sort of low effort video and throw it up on its last so
Mm.
that's in the description.
You know what?
Too. And as well, if you want to join
yeah.
me live in the future to have a chat and things, then you can. The link in the description to my Twitch.
Mind you, it's been 4 hours, and we only went through 3 videos. God fucking damn it, me. God fucking damn it. Yeah, this is me. This is the channel. 4.5 hours of just 3 videos. Well, to be fair, I did watch like 2 additional videos with the first video. So
with that, I am done. I will see you all soon for this Nautica video. I hope you have a nice day, evening, night, morning, wherever the fuck you are in the world. And I appreciate you for tuning in. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you later on. Bye bye.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna